Hello, everyone. Thanks for giving us your time today for VR Gamescast. I'm Ian Hamilton in New York, joined by Don Hopper in Missouri, as we discuss what people are playing inside VR headsets. We're publishing this on YouTube on October 8th, 2024, and this is a pre-recorded episode due to embargo demos for you to read about later on UploadVR.com. We're going to structure this episode a little bit differently this week. So if you're outside VR today, just sit back and relax, maybe grab a bite to eat, make a nice warm apple cider for yourself as the weather changes and the storms blow across the globe. Don and I will be back here in a little while for the typical discussion that you're used to, covering the latest games in VR. So we'll have a discussion today about Windup Minds with Bernie Yee there and their team working on a new virtual pet. They've got some new clips that they showed off first with UploadVR.com, and they're out there looking for people to join their Discord and adopt these pets in the near future. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We've also got a Metro Awakening graphics comparison on PSVR 2 and Quest headsets to talk about. And then Don and I and you, our audience, are going to all put our heads together, and we're going to think of some of the games that we recommend as Quest 3 owners for people who are getting their Quest 3S very soon. So we're going to look for those recommendations down in the comments, both during the stream, after the stream. Let people know the game title, why you like it so much, as well as maybe the number of hours you've put into it so they can get a sense of why you've spent that much time in that game, and build a nice little list for people of things they can enjoy on their Quest S when they get it. Quest 3S, sorry. So first up, though, we're going to put a spotlight on Venice Immersive today. So this is why we've got that different structure, with a tour that Don Hopper did with some of the creators involved in the event. For those of you who aren't aware, we sent Henry Stockdale to this event held from the end of August to the beginning of September, and that's part of the Venice International Film Festival. Festivals like these are a chance for creators to gain momentum toward some longer-term aspirations. And so in that spirit, if you go click on Don's story that we've put down in the description, you can take yourself to the introductory VRChat world that Don begins his journey on today with the people from Venice Immersive. And we've got segments on that article broken up into 1, 2, 3, so you can follow along in chunks if you don't have time to go through the whole tour today. And then we wanted to use this Gamescast here to put a spotlight on this work as well. So we're leading here with that tour here. We're going to cut to video here just to show that tour. And then Don and I will be back here in this studio in a little bit for our typical discussion. So that's how I wanted to structure this today, and we'll try that out. Now let's show that tour.
Hi, I'm Mike, aka Manglebird. So at Venice, my job is that I spend a little bit too much time in VRChat during the year, and I put together like a long list of worlds to visit. For this year's edition, it ended up being somewhere in the region of 650. And so I'm basically scouring social media, following creators that I like, following VR photographers and world hoppers from all around the world. And anytime I see anything that I think is interesting, I've got a geeky spreadsheet that I fill out, and then I go on world hops, find things that I think are interesting. And then when the two curators of Venice Immersive, Liz and Michelle, do their viewing of the pieces that have been submitted for competition, they take 2 weeks to do that, and I take them on an hour world hop every day of those 2 weeks with a much shorter list of maybe like 80 worlds, and then they choose what they want to put in the festival. So I'm a kind of pre-curator of the festival, and then at the festival itself, I then run what we call the Worlds Gallery. So we have 10 VR headsets. We have 6 that are showing the best of worlds. So essentially worlds that have already been released. And then we have 4 headsets that are showing the pieces that are actually in the competition. So that means that they have submitted to Venice, and they are in the same competition as all of the other immersive works that are on the island. And these fellas here, so this is Meteric, who had a piece in the competition called Uncanny Alley. And this is Wandering Chew, who had a piece in the competition called Strange Ways. Cool. Okay. So, welcome to Venice. So this is a world that we worked with a great world builder called Deke. He was also one of the world builders that worked on Chew's project Strange Ways. And he built this wonderful hub world. And the reason why we have this hub world is because Venice Immersive is very much focused on the people attending on the Venice island. It's an experience where you buy a ticket, you come to Venice, and we have this wonderful island called Lazaretto Vecchio. I'm sure I'm mangling the pronunciation of that. But you come to the island and there are like over 80 pieces of VR content to see across the selection. But we want to make sure that the VRChat community are able to engage in what we're doing as well. So that's why we've created this space which has portals to all the worlds, or most of the worlds that are in the selection. So let's go and take a look. One of the things that you'll notice straight away is that we have lots of these instruction systems. We have a lot of people at the festival who have never done any VR before, but also whose English isn't their first language. So what we do is we have helpers in the real world that we call docents, and their job is to help someone get into the headset, make them feel comfortable, help them understand the controls. We have this printed in the booth that they sit in. So the whole point is to make them feel comfortable about what it is they're about to do, because some people, this is going to be their first VR experience, and VRChat is quite an intense experience for someone who's never done VR or social VR. Being in a space that's full of crazy robots and shamans and bunnies with glowing skulls is quite an interesting situation. No festival would be complete without a step and repeat. So we always try and have a nice spot for people to take photos. So this is like the traditional sort of red carpet photo opportunity. But then we also wanted to create something a little more sort of glamorous and beautiful and a bit more Venetian. So if we go around this way, then we put in a second red carpet. So this is where we get a nice shot of the bridges, and Deke is famous for his sun rays and his blooms. So we wanted to get this nice shot. But one of the interesting things is that all of the actual buildings in Venice have copyright. So we're not allowed to use any actual real building, or we're not allowed to build out any island to represent a real island in Venice. So what we had to do is get something that has the vibe of Venice, which is of Venice, but not actually Venice, which I think Deke has done really beautifully in this world. The main reason to have this space, as well as being like the jumping off point at the beginning of all of our tours, is also so that it can house all the portals to the worlds that we feature. So if we bomb it back this way.
Meteric is my name. I am with Uncanny Alley. So the difference here is we created a couple of years ago, I was in Venice in competition with my project Uncanny Alley, and this year we decided to try something new where I built an entire new world, and all the avatars you see are sculpt in VR. So what I'm wearing. You'll see in the promo world a bunch. But for the actual show world, it's got live theatrical performers. So I've collaborated with the Ferryman Collective, and they basically VR theatrical group. So how the actual show works is you go in as audience members and you have 2 actors that play about 6 to 7 characters each. So it's an hour-long like live theatrical performance set in the world of Uncanny Alley. To kind of kick things off, my worlds are kind of known for their scale as well. Like this pro world is probably a 20th of the size of the actual show world. But I've just taken a small little city block here, especially for people that know nothing about the show. They can come here and actually just learn a little bit about what's kind of cracking here. Basically, it is called Uncanny Alley: A New Day. As I mentioned, it's the live theatrical performance, and kind of the thing I'm mostly known for is everything you see here is built and modeled from scratch. So from everything, from the buildings to the characters to the animations. I don't do kit bashing, so I don't go and find assets and download them and build worlds together. I do everything from scratch and predominantly in VR. So all the characters you see here are actually sculpted in a combination of Adobe Medium, still the first one, the free one, and using Quill. And then so these are kind of these are like the main good characters in the show. You basically, the last iteration of Uncanny Alley, you were always looking for this character Ghost. And there were posters all around, like, how do you find Ghost? Ghost is kind of the missing key, but you can never actually find her. She's, that story was all about the concept of the open metaverse back then. There was a lot of positive thoughts towards this idea that there was this open metaverse idea. People were going to get together, be decentralized. So Ghost actually managed to escape VRChat, and I built a bunch of Uncanny Alleys in different platforms on the web, and some in WebXR, some in just kind of crypto platforms. So kind of the story was at the end, she's managed to break this fourth wall, escaped this closed metaverse, and has found, she's finding these guys are by far a big kind of fan favorite. So this scene we're actually in now is one of the only scenes in the entire show where the audience is left completely by themselves, and they spawn in at that side of the city, and they're basically told, you have to find the polygon. When you find the polygon, tell them you're friends of Ghosts, tell them you're here to see blockchain, and that's how you get in. So the audience will be wandering around this area completely alone, discovering, where things are. And then these bouncers kind of, tune them, hey, what's going on? And quite often you don't realize who's talking until you look into this tiny room. And again, these are all full actors. This one's actually an NPC that normally just sits down watching TV. But, these are 2 actors. This one actually has a fly stick, so he comes right out flying around you, pestering you with questions, asking you, how do you get here? How do you know Ghost? As a kind of riddle to get into the next phase. So if we jump through, basically brings us to the polygon. Again, a lot more happens in the show version. So in the show version, there's a bunch of NPCs. There's a whole scene with blockchain. He tried to make his money out of NFTs, but his empire kind of collapsed. So now he just runs this dodgy bar, trying to pump this kind of brine. Also leading back into the previous law, about this kind of exploration of the open metaverse and things like that. And yeah, it's basically just an explanation. This character CRT, he's been around since the very, very first version of Uncanny Alley. So he's always kind of in the world somewhere. And in this version of the show, he also plays a bit of a part, but more humorous, funny kind of part of the show. So that's the polygon. We can take a quick look out here. So this is like a little trailer kind of explaining a bit.
The cops are most likely already looking for us. They took my mother.
Stop for me.
They're coming for all of us.
Mine started a bit late.
The good news is, I rerouted a government portal out of the city. Our mission is to escape so we can build a new life with our minds intact. We're gonna build our own world, away from all of this. Follow me if you wanna live.
Welcome to Strange Base. This is very different. It's a hand-drawn, psychedelic, magical realist world, drawn by an illustrator with ink on paper originally, and then we brought it into the environment and created the world with him. And it's a world where you embody an avatar and you find your own journey through strange ways. Let's begin. More will become clear. Please hit the button.
Escape to where things flow. Beyond, explore gardens of corridors. Come now and wonder your story.
So this world was 90% hand-drawn by someone called Chris Bianchi, a traditional illustrator. And there were 2 world builders and 1 person who created some avatars, this one included. You'll see the rest in a minute. And a poet who got involved with a lot of the spoken word you're hearing, song lyrics, and copy related to the storytelling. But please, let's go into the hole.
Hey-ho!
All right.
Once in the void, a stone spoke.
Say now, choose which character you want to be. Pick an avatar, and let's begin.
So when the world, we actually started this a few years ago, about 2.5 years ago, and it started out as a WebGL project, browser-based, and everything was a very simple starting point with Chris's drawing. So we did everything in 2D planes. It was a sort of exercise in trying to build something very quickly using his drawing, which proved to be quite effective. Please come over here and choose an avatar. If you're into, we've got 4 to choose from. So the avatar builder is someone called Egbert, and he interpreted Chris's drawings. There's a mirror over here. Love that one. This guy's pretty good too. Cool. Let's keep going. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty different, but that's partly what we were doing. It's very like playing with how we can change the way we perceive the immersive environment in VRChat, and turning. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's come out quite beautifully. I'm very happy with it. I directed it and pulled the whole thing together. I haven't done any world building myself, and I did all the music and sound and audio. There's a lot of detail to everything, including the sound. Yeah. Yeah, there's something about stepping into the drawing. I remember when I first started playing VRChat and hanging out with fucking Manglebird and a few years ago. And, we're in a lot of 3D spaces, and then suddenly we went into some 8-bit world, and you were in this quite sort of almost 2D Mario Brothers, early 8-bit. And you just suddenly, your brain, the way you process these new environments and how you store memories of those sort of environments in your head. So normally I would have associated this with a picture book, as a kid, but suddenly you're inside it. So yeah, it's quite a trip. Cool. But yeah, these are all Chris's drawings. Okay. This space is called Bonkers Gardens. Let's keep going. This is the outhouse. So this was the beginnings of the second build we did before we started looking at turning it into a VR experience, which I'm very, very glad we did.
And one of the team, while at Venice, actually got that outhouse as like a big tattoo on their arm.
Actually, we need to put a picture of that in the outhouse, I think. Cool, let's keep going. I am just about this space, so you'll see throughout the world as you move through it, things start out quite 2D, and then they start to become more 3D. And we took a real sort of kind of collage approach aesthetically. So there's a real mash of styles, from hand drawn to 3D to some of these are AI generated, to 3D assets, to mapping things onto 3D objects, to some photogrammetry. So it was a lot of fun bringing all these different aesthetics together in a sort of fanzine kind of way. Cool. Let's through the door. I can't believe you guys have been here the whole time. Thanks for waiting for me.
Pleasure, bro.
Oh, we got to the end of the song. Okay, this is the
Stranger ways to strange ways, strange ways.
Yeah, Chris is a pretty out there illustrator. So I'd say about half the drawings were from existing work, and then as we were building the world, we would work with him in creating extra assets, textures, and things to implement into things, like the sketch on your top as well, for example. All right, into the disco fridge. And then you're in here. Oh no. Oh, what's I doing? What did I become? Nothing. Oh, excellent.
Good for the fridge.
Yeah, we were in here one day and everybody started changing into bits of food, which is quite nice. Oh, really? Oh, well.
Get making you hungry.
Want a turnip? No, radish, the daikon. Alright, let me get back into character. Okay, let's head out. Yeah, I think we're gonna put a jukebox here. At the moment there's a DJ we're gonna party. I think for when there's nobody else in here, it'd be nice to have a jukebox. We've got like 8 tracks to cycle through. Okay. Right, into the tunnel gallery. This is where things get nice and crazy.
Room is this?
This is actually Alex.
Yes, you must clean this shit up, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's amazing. Also, Chris was just blown away, the illustrator, because he's so based on paper to kind of have this done with his drawings. It's just he's an oh god, I just want to do a whole passageway like this for real. Cool. Let's head through here. This is the wall of paint that Chris drew, based on the fossil, apparently. So this plane is actually a scan of a plane that went down in the desert somewhere in Nevada. There was a brothel that apparently were running a competition, and if you could parachute and land on the X next to the brothel, you got a free, interesting evening of fun with one of their staff. And one of the planes crashed near the brothel, and somebody made a scan of this is a real plane in the desert. Although we changed the sign. I think the sign originally said the name of the brothel. And then all the audio, as you'll see as we're moving through the world, I think start to get a bit more peaceful. We've had an intense moment. The audio here is a tambura that's been vocal coded. So there's a lot of playing with trying to bring inanimate things to life in the world. So the idea that plants are talking to walls that are talking to people and giving voices to things. So here we were kind of giving a voice to a sort of simple piece of audio sound by running it through a vocoder and giving it sort of a mouth shape. So there are lots of little details like that. If you spend time in it, you will notice. Please, into the plane. Yeah, it's funny. Some people find this quite scary. I don't. Yeah. Not a trip. Everything's better in VR. So this is the temple garden where you can float around and sort of
If you
contemplate.
jump, you'll fly. Let me know. Yeah.
Cool. That's it.
Thanks, Stu.
No problem. Thanks for coming out with
So
us.
I think one of the things that I'd want to say is that I'm always scouting for new worlds, ideally ones that were released from the 1st of September this year up till June next year. And there are two ways that people can be included in Venice Immersive. One is to just send me a link to a world that has already been released, and then that might get shown in our best of, or keep an eye out for when the submissions come open, and that's where you could become part of the competition and potentially be in line to win an award at the festival. I will very shortly be putting a link in my Twitter bio. I'm Mike C. Salmon, with a link to like a tips Google form. And so if you're a world builder and you want to have your work shown at Venice, then send me a link to your work. The only thing that we don't show is like small hangout worlds. The point of what we do is that we do tours. We hire amazing people from the VRChat community who, once in headset, the folks from the VRChat community take people on tours and show them around the worlds and help them with understanding what the culture of VRChat is like. So if you're making interesting stuff, please get in contact because I'd love to see your work.
All right, and we're back. And, I want to thank the organizers of Venice Immersive for showing me around, and to my colleague Henry Stockdale for his written breakdown of the exhibits that we saw there. So now that we're back in the studio, Ian, I think let's just do a little recap here of what we're going to cover past the Venice Immersive. So first up, I think we're going to talk a little bit about Windup Minds and their adoption for new virtual pets. You're going to give us all the information on that. Then we're going to get into something that kind of blew up for us over the last week, and that is a really cool, quick Metro graphics comparison for the upcoming Metro Awakening. And I got to tell you, I am super excited for that game and cannot wait to show our viewers the comparison that we did between Quest 3 and PSVR 2. And then I think we're going to round things out by taking a quick minute to discuss some of the things that we feel were going to be games that Quest 3S buyers might want to check out in their new headsets. So, Ian, why don't you give us some background here on Windup Minds and virtual pet adoption?
I love that transfer. That's a great transfer to this subject. I'm looking for the image here.
All right,
this is the image that we had for this article from Windup Minds. Was talking to the team over here. So for those who aren't familiar with this team and their work, they worked on BOGO, which was an introductory experience to many Quest owners, as well as First Steps and First Contact. I think they worked on, some of them worked on as well. So across a lot of generations of headsets here, this team has worked on the very first thing you went and saw inside the VR headset, inside the Oculus VR headset. And so now they're working on this new virtual pet experience, which they opened up a Discord group quite recently to bring some new people into their community. And they're pitching it like you're going to go into early access with them and adopt a virtual pet onto your headset in your Quest 3 headset. So they shared video with UploadVR for this article, and I think we'll show that video here in a second for our audience to see what they're working on here. It's an early concept video of where they are with the behavior of this virtual creature that they've got built up here. But it's a really, really interesting experience, Don. I've talked about Snapchat spectacles recently, seeing the Peridot, and then you had the same experience I did with Bogo and your kids, right? Showing them VR for the first time.
Lift them up.
Yep. So what Don's describing there is because they would put a fruit up high, and if you've got someone that's too short, they can't reach the fruit, and so you lift them up from virtual reality, and you're in reality, your kid is in VR, and it kind of breaks your brain to realize you're you're mixing realities physically that way. It's a wild experience that is ultimately not just us, right? A lot of people did that with Bogo, and so there's a lot of people looking to adopt this virtual pet to explore what they're going to be doing with this design space. Let's show that video and then continue this discussion.
Here. Go get it. Where'd it go? You found it. Bring it here. Bring it here. Good girl. Ember, come here. Let's go for a walk. Yeah, you excited for that? You want to go outside? Yeah, let's go outside. Oh, what's going on over here? Did he steal your ball? Oh, you got it.
All right. So, that was the clips that Windup Minds has shared with us so far, showing the behavior of this virtual creature. You get to see it chasing a ball as well as going outside. That's cool. A key moment to understand and think about. And I started up a little war over on Twitter. I dropped a grenade and walked away over on Twitter there with a discussion here about what you can do with this creature in a VR headset that you can't do with a creature in an AR headset or AR glasses, because VR headset takes you outside, even though you don't actually go outside, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, portals. I mean, come on. It's like when I saw that and the walking through the portal and then the just transforming of the world, you're not going to get that in AR glasses right now. I mean, that is going to require a full-blown headset for that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's like an architectural difference, and then you've got things to think about with mixed reality. Like, it's so wonderful. It's going to be so cool to play with a creature that actually jumps on your couch, jumps on your tables. But we've got to get the mixed reality tools to really do that. And the capture's got to be solid, especially for something that's going to be a digital embodiment of a pet. I mean, this is going to become very personal to you, so you're not going to want to see your digital companion there jumping all over the room. Definitely need that spatial anchoring to be perfect when it comes to something like that. And I love the fact also that you were kind of talking about digital pet adoption with this, and I don't know. I know on this show we like to wax nostalgic sometimes and look toward the future, and I'm looking toward the future on this one. Where how cool is it going to be? When you take your kids into the VR virtual pet adoption center, and they're picking out all the little pets that they can take home to their little virtual spaces and raise. It's kind of wild to imagine. There's an area in the Pokemon games. What is it? The Safari safari zones, at regions of those worlds where like it's a late game area in the first generation Pokemons, but like you go in there and you get this large roaming area where these large Pokemon roam free, and it's really cool. Like if you go to one of the Pokemon Go events that they host in actual physical locations around the world, you'll see thousands of players all using their iPhones as close to Apple Vision Pro as you can possibly get, because everyone at the Pokemon event has a battery pack in their pocket running to their phone to give them enough power to play Pokemon Go across this full walking region for an entire day. And that's the exact identical like use case as Vision Pro is, with a battery in your pocket and the headset up in front of you. You can imagine people going to physical locations all with 60 VR headsets and playing actually adopting like virtual pets that way.
Yeah,
like it would actually work.
No, I think we kind of talked, because we've talked about virtual pets on the last couple of episodes. This has kind of become a running theme with us because, well, we're both pet people, you know, and I think it's great that we're starting to see this this coming into the VR spaces. And, you know, I also, I think we talked about this a couple episodes ago, a virtual dog park. You know, it's like just a big open field where a bunch of people are just walking around.
Yeah, that's what
playing with their virtual pets.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was remembering that back. That's the safari zone in Pokemon. You merge those two ideas and you've got the exact idea. Yes. So Don's exactly right. This is becoming a theme for us because we had some exclusive video from Niantic showing off their work in this space with Hello Dot on Quest, and some of the ideas that they're exploring there on the Quest 3. And then, of course, the 3S is about to launch. That's going to work with a lot of the mixed reality, like all the things you can do on a 3, you should expect to be able to do on a 3S. And so, like, it's really, really cool to show off the pet experience that Niantic's exploring on the Quest 3. And then we're showing what Windup Minds is doing here with this experience. We'll have the link to this article down in the description, and on that link you will find the Discord group, so you can go check our article, go to the Discord group if you're really curious to explore this pet with the developers, and as they see it, adopt this virtual pet onto your headset and test with them. And I think it's time for us to move on here.
Just one more quick statement. Just think, you could be one of the first people in the world to adopt a digital pet. So
yeah, in your VR headset.
In your VR headset.
Right. Like it's not. That's the pitch, right? If you have those Tamagotchi memories and the Pokemon from the '90s, this is in your headset for the first time. So let's move on here to the next subject here.
Let's do it, because man, I am chomping at the bit to talk about this one. So
break this down for us, Don.
Okay, so you know, Metro, huge franchise, and now finally fully making its way to VR. I mean, obviously back in the day, I played some of the older Metro games using Vorpix, you know, because once again, I've always chased that dragon of wanting to take these awesome AAA quality games and bring them into VR. And now we're finally hitting the stride where studios are doing that for us. So we got Metro coming, and you know, based on the graphics comparison that we're going to see here in just a second, if you haven't already checked it out on UploadVR.com or right here on our YouTube channel, it's great. I mean, one thing that really blew me away on this is that, really looking at the two images side by side, the thing that I'm seeing the biggest difference is lighting. And I'm starting to see that as a pattern as we're starting to see these higher end games coming to Quest 3. We're starting to see them really push the graphics capability of that headset. But one thing that I'm noticing is that the trick to getting it to run good seems to be to make the game darker.
Well, it's an interesting way of framing it. We'll have to watch because the people watching this graphics comparison let's throw up that graphics comparison video now, so that we can refresh it for the people that haven't seen it yet, and then we'll continue this discussion. So check this out. It's only like 2 minutes.
Yes, 2 minutes.
Yeah, and then we'll be right back here.
Max, are you there?
I just encountered some scavengers.
What in the... Was that my voice?
This thing anyway.
Huh? Oh, there's bound to be something useful on this thing. Relax, this will take a while.
Okay, keep searching. We could use the pass.
That's what I'm doing, isn't it? Just keep an eye out, all right?
What the hell was that noise? Guess it was nothing.
Damn it, I'm not here for you.
So that was the quick graphics comparison there, showing what the developers behind Metro Awakening have revealed so far of the gameplay on PSVR 2 and on Quest. And yeah, as you pointed out, this video is doing quite well. This we didn't actually put our eyes into these headsets, and that's what's remarkable about our commenters and this video, because we've got an audience here that recognizes that these things look different in headset compared to what you can convey in the video. And that's, if you go look at our comments, you'll see people that are bringing that up because PSVR 2 has that OLED screen that is absolutely so important here, and you recognize that it doesn't look the same as a Quest.
No, I know, and then some other differences that I noticed immediately in the video was the fact that, the colors, it's kind of blew me away to see the colors look a little oversaturated on the Quest version compared to the PSVR 2 version. And, that's very apparent in the scene where you see the train car, the blue in the train car is so much richer. And I'm wondering if that is playing into the fact that the scene behind is a little darker, things like that. So I'm really, really interested, like you said, to see this in headset now, because now I've got both systems. I've got, PSVR 2, I've got Quest 3, so maybe when it comes time we'll do another graphics comparison from what we actually saw in the headset. But just the fact that we got the 6 minutes of gameplay, and the fact that the two had some similarity to where we could sync it up in this way to give our viewers a little bit of a glimpse of what they might expect on each system was gold. And I really want to, thank the developers for putting that gameplay footage out there. I know a lot of people were super, super curious about this game, and and we're close. We're getting close.
Yeah, it's a tricky area for us to convey, and we will constantly be on it based on the performance of just this comparison. Yeah, I think we're going to get back on at least starting the graphics comparisons again here on Metro Awakening, because the other thing that I saw reflected in the comments is a commentary on the 5-year path here from Quest 1 to Quest 3 and 3S now, and aligned on the same multi-generation leap in processing power that is underlying this latest Quest system for Meta. It's enormous, and so there's people in our comments going, "That's a console generation. Wake up!
Mhm.
You went away and started calling VR cell phone graphics." And then missed a whole console generation of development. And that's what you're starting to see compared when you really see these optimizations side by side. So big benefits to have been gained on the Quest ecosystem. And this is all before the Quest ecosystem really has foveated rendering up and running. So there's futures to look at when we see future hardware that has eye-tracked foveated rendering in Quest hardware. It will be really interesting to watch what happens there. We ready to move on to this next subject, Don?
You know, I think we are. Yeah, I think we are definitely ready to move on to this next subject. So exciting times.
All right. So this is our discussion about the Quest 3S and games that we would recommend for users who are getting a Quest 3S as Quest 3 owners. So I've been using a Quest 3 for a year now. It's been on the market for a long time. I would recommend people that are thinking about getting a Quest 3S to really seriously consider a 3 instead.
I would.
Because of the difference in clarity that I at least observed. Now, we're going to go and actually do a proper review of the new hardware. I would expect that from David Heaney
Absolutely.
as soon as he's ready to put together all those thoughts, and expect us to break that down on the VR Download podcast as soon as we can. But until then, we've got this first impressions, and the clarity is a big difference. So just want to throw that out there before we say, okay, then you take the power of the Quest 3, you put it in a 3S, and let's talk about the cool games you can actually enjoy. So I'm hoping that our audience has had some recommendations in the comments throughout this episode. If you're watching, so as mentioned before, this is pre-recorded. So Don, I'm hoping you're watching down in the comments as we put this out live and throwing those ideas out, starting the discussion about games we recommend, because we don't want people wasting, you've got $20 to spend, $30 to spend, $40 to spend. I don't know how much it is for those first few games.
Well,
what do you go and get?
Well, the nice thing is, Ian, is if you remember, people buying a Quest 3S aren't going to have to worry about that right now, because they're going to get a 3-month subscription to Quest Plus. And with that, they're kind of getting the keys to the kingdom in a way. I mean, they're going to have content that they can play right off the bat. And, one of the big things is obviously, they're going to get one of the biggest games coming in 2024 right off the bat, because they're also going to get Batman Arkham Shadow. So
all right. So yes, I appreciate that. That was really important to recap and remember that that's all true. You're getting a lot of value and a lot of to survey the landscape.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also the sense that when the subscription ends, I'm going to be hurting. I want to go back to those games, or I'm going to be hitting up a family member to try to get a gift card to go back and extend the subscription. Like, that's hard to imagine. There's people that are going to want to make sure that their games are protected. What games do people buy to have in their library long term without a subscription? What do people go and get, even maybe harder or hidden gems, right? Like harder to find things. There's a lot of that stuff out there.
So much.
There's things that you want to keep around after the subscription. So I've got the ones, our commenters know which ones I'm going to name, right? The ones who watch us. Don, I want to know what ones you're going to name.
I wonder what you're going to name. Well, obviously I'm going to first start a little basic, and I'm going to tell people that, especially if this is your first VR headset, take it slow. Don't it's not a marathon. I mean, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So, take it slow. Find what works for you. I mean, you're going to want to build up those VR legs. Now, one thing, and it's not even a game, and I'm going to say this is probably one of my most essential Quest apps, and that's Virtual Desktop. So if you have a PC, if you want to eventually extend your play into the realm of PC VR, definitely look into virtual desktop, get yourself a good official link cable, that's going to have good throughput, but definitely take it slow. Then try all the mixed reality you can possibly get your hands on, and look towards Upload. We have been covering some awesome mixed reality titles, some that have been some of my personal favorites. One that's kind of a slower, more methodical game that kind of builds you into VR and mixed reality. Check out Infinite Inside. Wonderful game. Really, really helps you to build up those legs in both spaces. Then when you want something a little more, say, intense, then you can get into things like Bomber Drone and, just Starship Home. I mean, we recently reviewed that, and
Wait,
it's got some.
What's Bomber Drone's new name? Bomber Drone has a new name.
I'm sorry, it does. Skyrunner. Ooh, that's my bad.
Yeah, no. Well, it changed names over the course of us covering it. We have to remember that. So I appreciate. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool call out. And then there's of course the one we premiered in our showcase, Airspace Defender,
yes,
which is basically Missile Command.
Missile Command, yeah.
And the one that I want to call out, it's not even a game, Pencil. Pencil is going to be fascinating. We have yet to go hands on a 3S yet with Pencil, but it is an enormously interesting idea to imagine kids in public schools everywhere learning how to draw using simulation from a VR headset using the Pencil app. Put the controller down on a piece of paper and then get the piece of paper synced up to the location of the outline that overlays on top of the paper, and you can learn to draw. And what I love about that, Don, I don't know if you've been to Disneyland or Disney World, but they have these areas in the animation building inside at least Disneyland where you go and wait in line at Disneyland to go into a room where like a Disney artist comes and explains to you step by step how to draw a Disney character. So you get a sketching pad, you get a pencil, this giant pencil out, and up on stage using a projector, this Disney artist explains how to draw Goofy or Elsa or whoever it is that particular day or that particular hour. One of my favorite activities to go to at Disneyland. This app, Pencil, does that for you inside a headset at a $300 price that we're going to go and test as soon as humanly possible. And it's not even a game, right? We went at the start of the show and said, recommended a whole bunch of game, like virtual desktop is hard not to call it a game because of how many games you get access to.
Well, this is true.
Yeah, right. You could get all these flat screen games over on your PC via virtual desktop, and that's enormously useful. Steam Link is another one to go and install, right, if you've got Steam.
Now, I'll tell you one of the most important ones, and this is just because I'm huge into all of these awesome mods that we've been seeing. SideQuest. Definitely want to get SideQuest up and installed on your headset as well. That way you can play all of the Team Beef mods.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because you've also got then you've got the developer process to consider. So you have to go and look up how to become a developer on.
Well, this is true.
You have to go through a process to add unknown sources on the Quest. But we've got guides for that, and there's plenty of resources to figure that out.
Super easy to do, and I mean it's just one of those. You were talking about hidden gems. I mean, so many people out there still don't realize that SideQuest is there, and for people who want to sideload, for like even just wanting to get the videos off of your headset without having to sync them to the Meta app. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that you can plug your headset in to your PC and actually move files back and forth and things like that. So I just always encourage people to take a look at Sideload as well. I mean, it's definitely a great resource, or SideQuest, sorry.
Well, yeah, so that we've got, those are like deep dive things that are available to you. You've got things like Dr. B. Yeah, Dr. Beef's ports. We've just covered Tomb Raider or Beef Raider XR, where, you can use this whole modding process to take a game that was flat and turn it into fully VR or turn it into mixed reality. And it's a massive eye-opening moment to be able to do that.
Oh, yeah.
But as far as first things you're going to do in headsets, I'm going to suggest looking for games that have private room code based multiplayer.
Okay,
That's
there
my
you go.
favorite way to play with friends, with people you trust, people that might be on different devices can log in certain places. So like Walkabout Mini Golf. There's the bingo card for our
I
regular
was going to say,
viewers.
there you go. I was waiting for it.
Pistol Whip is the other one I love quite a lot. But Walkabout Mini Golf is a multiplayer experience that launches this week on iOS for $5.
So cool.
And the same room code that you share in VR can be accessed from iPhones. And then you've got everyone in a single room together playing a mini golf course that works on iPhones everywhere, as well as VR headsets everywhere. So that's my absolute first recommendation. It probably got mentioned multiple times in the comments before we even got to this. So I have to call that one out as like my first. If you're going to go into social VR, I'm going to recommend you go into that one. You could also try Beat Saber multiplayer.
You could,
of course, right? That's going to be a first stop for a lot of people.
If you're looking for, I'm actually in the process of reviewing it right now, but if you're looking for a good rhythm game as well, Maestro.
Yeah, so how did you play that one on controllers?
So yeah, input is actually interesting. The first thing the game does is tell you to put your controllers down, that this is a hand-tracked experience. And I got to say, they nailed it. It is probably some of the most tight hand tracking that I've seen yet, and they kind of had to in that one because you're not just slashing and moving the baton. I mean, you're doing things like crescendos and you're pointing to different, so you're having to do all of these things in time. So I just wanted to call that one out. It is a review in progress right now, hoping to have that out hopefully by the end of the week, if not beginning of next week. So stay tuned to UploadVR for that.
Yeah, and like notwithstanding our review, which was 3 out of 5, which is a good review, right? On Starship Home, where you mentioned a ton of mixed reality issues. The underlying platform of resetting your home space up was frustrating. So if you encounter that in the early days of a Quest 3S, Meta does have a track record here of updating its system consistently, and at least if the system is as high unit focused as the Quest 3S is, you can expect that to be the product that gets the main product updates, right? So you can expect a lot of software updates for the Quest 3S to improve the platform and build on it over time from Meta. So they do have a track record there, and if you've encountered any bugs or any issues in a particular game you enjoyed, there's a chance the underlying system played a part in that experience, and do expect there to be changes over time.
Absolutely.
So I'll just throw that out there for anyone to think about. And it's also enormously frustrating for the devs out there to have this
huge.
be a fact.
Yeah, huge. I mean, and it is. It's like, it's just one of those things that I've said it before, especially with new users coming into the ecosystem. This is all still building, guys. I mean, the tools, everything, the developers, the companies, everything is all coming together. So will there be little inconsistencies here and there? Sure, there will be. Is it going to be 100% perfect? No, it's not. But are you going to have the most immersive, awesome gaming experience you've ever had? Abso-freaking-lutely.
Yep, that's a great way of covering it all there. And I'm sure we've had some incredible recommendations down in the comments. Any others you want to call out before we move towards the end of this show here? And thank you to everyone in our comments. And I haven't done the call out to our members and our patrons who have supported us. So I do want to say thank you personally to the members and patrons that are out there supporting us in our work. A couple weeks back, I met a couple of our members inside Walkabout Mini Golf while we were doing one of the pre-recorded episodes. Don, you have that freedom, right? Like, because we've done it this way, you could go into the chat and give a Walkabout room code to members or to our audience, and we can join people in VR over time. We're this close of being able to have that cafe atmosphere where you just sit and work in VR in an HMD with your displays up in front of you, and you can do that with room code based multiplayer or just go play a game immediately. Like that's what's opening up this year. And Don, I've so appreciative of you digging into all the mixed reality content this year. We've been digging into all the different things that are going on. There's so many different types of content that are rolling out this year on different headsets. Apple is doing Apple immersive video on its headsets, and then you're also able to record spatial videos on those headsets as well as on iPhones. And then on Ray-Bans, you're capturing these new tall format videos and photos and sharing those with people, but they're not spatial. And there's both they're shooting Hollywood movies on iPhones while also exploring all these new mediums all the time. And these tech companies are forking over big paychecks to explore all these different things. But it's different than the last few years. It's not just games that can be played with track controllers. We're seeing games that can be played with your physical environment, and we're seeing games that can be played in 3D in a little window right in front of you, or maybe cut a wall out of your home and turn that into a game. And that's entirely different than what we've had before. And Don, you've been like on the ball on getting your eyes into all of those things. And our patrons and members have supported us in covering what we think is interesting rather than what Google tells us is interesting. And like that's fundamentally why I have to say thank you to our members and our patrons for supporting that work, because we don't want to be driven only by what works based on what Google is telling us works. We want to listen to our members, and it was cool to meet them in VR. We are going to be able to meet them in VR more often and take those questions, meet our audience. And it's VR is actually becoming like a place we can go to more regularly because of all these advancements this year. So I just want to say thank you again to everyone out there. Don, do you have any more recommendations before we move to the end of this episode?
Like I said, Ian, I think we've pretty much covered everything today. I mean, I've got so many recommendations. I could literally sit here for 5 hours just blah, blah, blahing every game that I think that everybody should try. But
Well, that's why we planned ahead. So that's why I duplicated Don Hopper. This is like the multiplicity thing back in the 1990s, that movie. And I've got a duplicate Don Hopper down in the comments, throwing out his recommendations while this is live. And I've got the past Don Hopper giving me his recommendations over here. And that is the power of VR.
So meta.
I time shifted Don Hopper into 2 locations so you can get double the Quest 3S recommendations. So thank you to the organizers of Venice Immersive for giving us those tours. Thank you to Henry for checking that out, and as well as to David Heaney for his incredible tech coverage. We'll be back here on Thursdays at 9 a.m. Pacific with VR Download, where we will discuss the wider industry trends and everything that's going on in VR across the space. We'll see you next week.